Hey, hello guys, this is Fede here back with another video. So this is my second time trying to record this video actually. So let's hope this goes right. I'm having some issues with the audio. But yeah, so this video is about the Stormlight Archive and what I thought about it when I just finished the third book, Oathbringer. I just want to put my thoughts out there and see maybe what you guys think about it too, but I just wanted to explain how I feel about this series so far. So, the Stormlight Archive is a series of epic fantasy novels written by Brandon Sanderson, as we know. The series is planned to include 10 books. I have read up to the third book, as I said, of four published so far. Oathbringer is the third book. The story arc of the Stormlight Archive is complex and involves multiple intertwining stories and characters set in the developed world of Roshar. The purpose of this video is to analyze why the arguably most popular fantasy series in the world is not a big deal, and why, despite that, I still read it. As I mentioned, up to this point, I have read three of the four books published. Finishing each book is not easy, not because of its length, but because of the unnecessary filler that the story contains. But before going into the negative things I have to say about the series, I would like to mention what works for me about it. So, the Stormlight Archive is classified as an adult fantasy, which I don't really agree with that, but let's go ahead and continue. And focuses on the world of Roshar. That's the name of the world there, which takes a lot of license from the human medieval era, which a lot of fantasy does. In this world, storms have caused flora and fauna to evolve in different ways, right? It is also very common to observe spirits, spren, roaming the earth. These are represented in different ways and are generally small. These are just a few details of the peculiar world that Sanderson creates here. If he's good at anything, it's creating universes that feel totally real from the start, from the get go, which avoids any deus ex machina in the future of the plot. The next is the text is simple. I mean, Sanderson does not have incredible prose, not even objectively profound. His narrative is very direct. He uses everyday words too often that can take the reader out of the immersion of the story, really. Sanderson tells his story without metaphor, mystery, or hidden messages. What you read is all there is, really. The series is characterized by doing something that has already become common since the 90s in fantasy, which is the structure of multiple POV characters. So each chapter is written from the perspective of a different character. This can be tedious here since not all the characters function in the same way, especially the character of Shalan, who is unbearable, boring, and childish, to be honest. These are very big books, and trying to give an idea of the plot is difficult for me. Let's just say that the Stormlight Archive is about how a new generation of Knights Radiant is beginning to emerge after thousands of years, right? Order of great and heroic knights who were believed to be extinct. As these knights emerge again, the old enemy they fought, the Void Breeders, also begins to be reborn. Each book is structured by the main narrative, a series of flashbacks focus on a single character, so which changes book to book, and a series of interludes that are not necessarily connected to the plot. This makes the book drag on unnecessarily, and this is the main problem I have with the series. I don't mind books being long. I like it, but in this case, their length is unjustified. There are hundreds of pages in each book that could be removed and the plot will not suffer at all. On the contrary, I believe. Personally, the only way in which reading these books is moderately bearable is to skip the interludes. since this really had nothing or little to the plot. This was the main reason why I hated the first book, The Way of Kings. A lot of filler, which could have made an entertaining novel of about 500 pages. But that book, the first one, The Way of Kings, reaches 1,258 pages. That is absurd to me. So let's go back to the category this series falls into: adult fantasy. To begin with, there is nothing adult about this story. The strongest themes here it develops are war and its consequences, a theme that is explored in countless series of adolescence and, to a lesser extent, children's stories. It is incredible to me that in almost 4,000 pages that I've read so far, there has not been any sexual encounter. The writer avoids this human expression, and at most, two characters kiss each other, which is not common in the series, by the way. This asexuality is unbearable to me. They are not human beings, the one that you're reading. They are something else, but not human. This reminds me of Dan Brown's books, right? Which have the same problem. They don't take into account everything that makes us human. They deliberately ignore it. The violence in Sanderson's works never resembles real violence. It is very clean. This book should not belong to the adult fantasy category, but to the YA section. Now, why do I keep reading? Right? The second book in the series, Words of Radiance, was spectacular. It obviously also had a lot of filler, and of course, I skipped the interludes. But the main narrative of the second book is very, very good. A few days ago, I finished the third book, Oathbringer, and I don't know when I will read the fourth one. This year, the fifth book comes out, which culminates this first arc, this story of these characters. So the third book, Oathbringer, wasn't as good as the second one, but it wasn't as bad as the first one either. So anything is possible here. Now, what are my expectations for the next books? I know that Sanderson has too much power, and there is no force in the planet that will make him remove the unnecessary parts in his books, right? Not his publishers, not the public, not anyone. So I will continue to use my method in the future, and I advise anyone who wants to read the series to do the same, really. Ignore the interludes, and you will be happier. These are so unnecessary that Sanderson writes them after he finishes writing the main plot and then inserts them at different points in the book. Now, do I recommend this series? I don't know. I really don't know. It requires a huge commitment just to read a book, which almost always becomes tedious at some point. I think that if you are willing to put up with that, to put up with not exactly great writing, and sometimes an immature world, underneath all that, there is a good concept and a good story to tell. I leave it to your discretion if you wish to embark on this. Read the first book, maybe, The Way of Kings. Try to visit Roshar at least once, and you will see if the series can work for you. For my part, I will continue reading it, at least until book 5 that comes out at the end of the year. After that, I'm almost sure my journey with Sanderson will end. I don't plan to read any of his other series in the future, but if you decide to read The Way of Kings and you don't like it, don't hate me. If you decide to read it and you love it, you're welcome. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that to you guys, my opinion of the series, and that's how I feel about it. So, as you can see, I'm conflicted, to be honest. So, what do you think about the series? Have you read it? Have you not? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and drop a like, all of that. Alright, guys. See you later.